Hey guys, welcome back to Beaneater Buzz. Jordan Hunt, Colleen McGuire, back again talking about some Braves baseball. It's been a minute. I'm so
It has
sorry.
been a minute. It's good to be back doing this.
I've had a wild last year, so
Yes, you have.
I use that as an excuse, I guess. But I mean, could have probably worked out maybe a little bit better, but I don't know. Being a dad of a newborn is a little bit challenging, and I feel like I'm bailing on my wife at times. So there's that. So
It's all good.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're back to talk about some Braves baseball. It's been an interesting offseason. Alex did
that's
some
a good,
really weird
word
things.
to describe.
Yeah,
it
was
interesting.
It was definitely different from the way he's certainly approached anything before, because I don't know, we'll get into some of the moves that he made, but like in the past, he's kind of held on to guys that were kind of like maybe we thought were like fringe, non-tender guys. Most of them were kept around, and it was what it was. And that has not been the story of this offseason at all. So,
yeah.
Anyways, before we jump into things, how are you? How have you been?
I've been pretty good. I'm just ready for baseball. I feel like you just see it all over Twitter. Everyone's like, this offseason's been kind of not good and boring. Can we please just start the season and get everything? So that's kind of where I am. I'm like, just not really what you expected with this offseason. But
yeah, I think first off, Ohtani was just like the biggest free agent possibly ever. So there was that.
Absurd.
And then yeah, I mean, $700 million. Like, even I don't care if it's 400 and whatever after deferrals, but 700's a big number. And just it's just almost unfathomable. But then they had Yamamoto coming over, and then Imanaga, and it just it felt like we were just waiting on these guys to get through their signing periods.
Right. Those chips to fall, and then everything else would fall into place.
Right.
But nothing much has really happened since those guys have. Yeah, it's like, okay.
At all. So, yeah, I don't know exactly where we're headed with that. So, luckily, the Braves haven't really worried about what other people are doing. They've just kind of done their thing, and Alex is he pulled off probably the Chris Ross turnover I've ever seen in a single offseason, because
he's been busy. That is for sure.
Coming in, going, yeah, and
yes,
there were guys who were here for a day, and then oh, you're being traded here now.
It's the Simpsons meme with the old guy comes in, puts his hat down, and then picks his hat up and leaves. That's
right. Yeah. He walks in.
We traded.
Yeah. It's about how it went. Yeah. So now at the beginning of the offseason, there were two moves that were, I guess, not considered part of the offseason. They were extensions, as Pierce Johnson and Joe Jimenez, and I was very happy with both of those. I didn't expect us to keep Jimenez.
Yeah.
But I wanted us to keep Pierce Johnson pretty badly.
I think especially with Jimenez, considering what we traded for him, a very good prospect, I think that was part of it too, is we can't only have one season of this guy. Let's make the most and keep him if we can and if he wants to be here. And obviously they were able to agree on something. So we'll have him for a few more years, and I thought he was good. I know he had the shoulder surgery, was coming off that, so a little bit, iffy to start, but
yeah. So at the beginning of the season, he was, he had his, like you said, you could tell he wasn't quite himself. He just the velocity was down a little bit, but the slider and everything looked good, and then it just it was he just kind of found it, and I guess it was May or June, and then
that sounds about right.
From that point on, he was great. phenomenal.
Yeah, like just looking at his overall numbers, his ERA was around 3, FIP 3.59. Like he had pretty good season for that sort of like 6th or 7th inning guy, especially. I mean, I think he was, I think sometimes would come in like the 7th or 8th. Maybe he's more of a 6th inning guy. We'll see what happens. But
right, and he didn't walk a ton of guys, which was a few years ago. That was his big problem, was he walked a lot of guys. Yeah. And then in 2022, like that number drastically dropped, and then he became an elite reliever. And then again this year, he wasn't walking guys, but his K numbers were still there and everything. So I'm happy with keeping him around for 3 more years. Like
me too.
And it's all guaranteed. There's no club options or anything in that 3rd year, like there is with Pierce Johnson. And to me, it's so funny that like when we traded for Pierce Johnson, so many people were pissed because he had a 6 ERA, and like there were people who were like, Alex Anthopolous doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's a terrible GM, and it's just like, where have you been for the past 5-6 years? And like, Johnson comes over, proves
just
Alex
stopped walking guys. Like that was the biggest thing, is he just came over and was throwing strikes. It was like, oh, there's the guy that we were like, oh, he can be this guy. It's insane if you look at the splits. 0.76 ERA he had with the Braves and a 6 ERA with the Rockies.
Yeah, that's
how is
crazy.
that even a thing? Obviously, pitching in Colorado does not help, but still, that's
pitching in Colorado hurt for sure.
Stark.
He also gave up a tank to Matt Olson in Atlanta.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so I mean, there was
not having to pitch to that guy will help as well.
Right. Yeah, that will definitely help. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm really happy with it. I think that Johnson. The thing I like the most about what Alex did with the bullpen is there's so many different looks. Like even Pierce Johnson and Joe Jimenez, like both right-handed relievers, like they've both got good fastballs, but their off stuff is pretty different. Like Pierce Johnson throws that like wicked curveball, and then like Joe Jimenez is just your typical fastball slider guy. So I don't know, that's one thing that I really noticed about bullpen with those guys. And then, God, we stacked so many lefties this year, it feels like, which is great.
It was almost like Anthopoulos was like, we're gonna face the Phillies again. We need to put as many lefties as possible into this bullpen and hope for the best. So you got Matza coming back, obviously. You hope Lee's healthy, in addition to the other guys. But yeah, it was definitely like a bunch of lefties and flamethrowers was like kind of his how do I approach the additions and changes to this bullpen, making sure that we have guys who can pump 98 and 99. Which should we then move? I don't know what was next on your list, but should we talk about Reynaldo Lopez a little bit?
So Reynaldo Lopez was like the next little thing I was going to talk about. Oh, one thing I do want to like really quick touch on is like kind of gets lost in the offseason is the fact that they exercised Charlie Morton.
Yes.
Like that's big. Like Morton is not who he was in 2021 anymore. Like, do I still think that's in there? Maybe. Like he was really good this year, but his expected stats were a little bit iffy. So like
it was the walks with him.
It was the walks.
It just ended up, especially like in the like second half, I felt like he just was walking guys. Like there was a game at Citi Field. I was actually at the game, and I think he walked 8 guys or something. He went he gave up like 0 runs because the Mets friggin' stunk.
He walked 7 and he went 5 scoreless innings.
And I remember just being like, "You're playing with fire here, Charlie."
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. It was cool. Like it was weird. Funny. Like whenever it came down to like the 7th walk, like oh God. Brandon Gaulden. Sorry. I just completely zoned on his name.
The guy.
Brandon Gaulden was like, he just kept saying like, He's never walked 7 in a game before. And like it got to a point where like I was rooting for it because he hadn't allowed a run yet. So I was like, fuck it, like let's do this.
Load him up and see what happens.
Yeah, and but that's the thing with Charlie. Getting with Charlie. And it's like he's been here for 3 years, right? All 3 of those years. Like, sure, he's in his late 30s.
That's actually great. Like, obviously, it's been 3 years, but that
30
also
starts.
That's weird. It's been
every
3
year.
Years. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Generally, he's been healthy.
So
like, I would love it if he came anywhere close to what he did in 2021.
Oh God, if he gave us what he did even if he gave us what he did in 2022, which wasn't a great year by his standards, like that, great, whatever, dude, you're our 4th starter. Like, go out and give us innings. That's all I care about. Like, so I think that gets lost a little bit, and I think it should be acknowledged that that was a very important move to start the offseason, given the fact that there are question marks. Yeah. So I think that was big. Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned Ronaldo Lopez because for some reason, did I not write that down? Oh, actually, what happened before Ronaldo Lopez was the Aaron Bummer trade. So do we want to get into that first? Do we just want to touch on Lopez?
Yeah, let's get into that. Was pretty big in the way of just lots of bodies being shipped out. So that was sort of a big,
like huge shocker. Like just for anyone who hasn't heard, I'm sure everyone has heard, but the names that went to the White Sox in this deal: Nicky Lopez, Michael Soroka, Jared Schuster, Brady Shoemake, and Riley Gallons. There are 3 first-round picks for the Atlanta Braves in that list. Michael Soroka, Jared Schuster, and Braden Shoemake were all first-round picks for the Braves.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. That and the thing is, that's not even it. We ended up trading away a 4th first-round pick in Kyle Wright. So, it tells me one thing: the Braves have been iffy in the first round. Kind of I don't know. I say that, but Ian Anderson, Kyle Wright, Michael Soroka, those guys, they didn't all pan out. And who knows what happens with Anderson. But I mean, it's not because of the Braves not developing them good. All 3 of those guys have had ace quality seasons for the Braves. And injuries just derailed it. So it's, like you said, it's interesting to see the names going out there. So, and it like you said earlier, it signified what this offseason was going to be. Soroka was fan favorite. There's a heartwarming story there. They didn't care. They were
right. It was if these guys have no immediate impact in 2024, let's just see if we can get something of value for them. And I think that was it was Soroka. Is going to be a question mark and would continue to be. I hope he finds success with not being on the pressure of a contending team. Same thing with Wright when he gets healthy. Hopefully he kind of finds it again. I know last year it was mostly just he was injured. Schuster,
and
those
he
guys
won't be back until Wright won't be back till 2025. So
he won't miss the whole season. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, and I don't know. I'll be honest, I was a little bummed out about Kyle Wright.
Oh, I'm for sure. I agree. I like Kyle Wright. I mean, he was he was our guy in 2022. He was our guy so last year.
And it did feel though, maybe I don't want to say the Braves were upset with him, but maybe they were a little bit okay, you've had this shoulder injury. You told us that you've been feeling it since early 2020, but you didn't tell us until early 2023. So like maybe there was a little bit of like, I don't want to say punishment. That's not the right word, but like a little bit of just not stoked with how that turned out. Maybe the Braves are like, well, look, like we want to be able to be in a relationship with our players where we can trust they're going to tell us when they're not right and, whatever. And let's move you and see if you can have another shot.
See how you like it.
Yeah. So
no,
like,
I know what you mean. Yeah,
and
no,
I don't think it was like that at all. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure there was no bad blood. I'm sure it wasn't like that at all. It was just, maybe they just decided, hey, like, this is where we're at because of this. So like, let's just move on. And that's what it is. And also, just to touch on Michael Soroka with the White Sox, like, I think it would be really fucking cool if he and Tukey got to pitch together for a couple years. And like, like, I don't know. It would just be cool to see both those guys in an MLB rotation, like having success together. So yeah, that'd be pretty fucking sweet. But we can also talk about the piece we got in that trade, which is Aaron Bummer. And
talking about the lefties,
another guy,
and that's one of the lefties.
Another guy who throws hard and like left-handed pitcher. Like that's gonna be a theme. Like lefty, 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 lefty. It feels like, but the ERA last year wasn't pretty.
Yeah, didn't have the best numbers last year, but 21 and 22, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
the expected numbers were good last year. Just I don't know. They have an issue in Chicago, and one of those issues last year was that their infield defense was like one of the worst of the century. Or some crazy shit. Like not even like exaggerating. It was like historically bad. And Aaron Bummer is like a super high ground ball rate guy. So you put those things together and like,
it doesn't bode well.
Pretty numbers out of it. Yeah. So I like Bummer to bounce back.
I would tend to agree. Yeah.
I think
like not that our infield is like the best infield ever, but it's a better infield than you're gonna get.
It is. And I'm interested to see what Ozzie does this year.
Yeah.
Like Orlando.
He's like the one I was thinking of because Riley's really come a long way. Matt too, honestly, I feel like Matt and Ozzie were kind of iffy at
they
points.
Both
so I feel like
had really bad,
which isn't great on that side. Side of them.
And
but
I mean, it was it's hard to complain about because like Matt hit 54 homers and like like Ozzie hit 33 homers and is like, okay, well, both of them simultaneously had
they're certainly
the best offensive years of their career and the worst defensive years of their career, and it was like
trade-offs.
Well, I'll probably make that trade every year if we have to, so that's fine. Because neither one of them is really still a bad defender. I don't know. I hate to use the word careless, but there were a lot of careless mistakes, especially on Ozzie that I noticed. So I don't know. Well, I would like to see Ozzie getting back to being like 2021 Ozzie. Like he was still a defender then. So so that would
doesn't have Wash to be on his ass anymore. So
yeah, he doesn't, and that's gonna be. We'll see what kind of impact that has, because that's gonna impact more than just the defense too.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Like, there's still gonna be some good vibes and everything.
Oh, like, absolutely. Oh yeah.
Matt Tuiasosopo is like those guys. They've known each. Like, he's known those players. Like, the majority of those players have come through Gwinnett and played for him, and like, so it's kind of like Snit, like back in the day.
The relationship is there for sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the relationship's there, and I think that was a really good hire for that reason, just to keep the vibes good. So
yeah, it's just gonna take like getting used to of like Like, I remember I joked when Wash had taken the job in Anaheim, was just like, "Oh, when somebody's rounding Ozzy and it's not Wash, it's like the Kermit meme where he's like looking, it's like the raining, and he's looking at the window.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad. It's not Wash
it
waving
is gonna
Ozzy
be
anymore.
weird. It is gonna be weird. It's like he's
Like
been
when
there
they
his whole
play in
career.
Anaheim, can they have like just Wash coach third base?
Can Wash just be our third base coach for the day?
For an
And
inning,
he's just like he's just sending everybody because he's like, yeah, we're gonna get these fuckers out. So yeah. I don't know. They like the Bummer trade. That's really the gist of it. The biggest thing with the Bummer trade was just it signified that we were going to do a strip down of the roster of sorts.
Yeah.
And that some names that we liked were going to be gone. And like the next thing on the list was the Kyle Wright for Jackson Coar trade. And we really touched on that. So we'll just kind of leave it what it is.
Yeah, basically there was just no emotion. It was like we're separating the emotion from the, you know what I mean?
Yep.
We love these guys, wish them nothing but the best, but like they're not going to contribute. Let's get guys who can, and let's kind of change up the roster.
And anyone who follows me has been pissed off at me at some point in the last year because that was my just being honest. That was my take on Mike Soroka or Michael Soroka.
I think I had said something similar. Yeah, with the emotion of like you can't.
It was
be
time
attached.
to move on, and like it just and I get that. Like these were the names that like we watched coming up through the minors for years, and we were like, this is the future. And like they turned out to have a future here, but that wasn't the future. But like we don't win a World Series without Kyle Wright and what he did in Game 4 of the World Series. So like there's still great moments there. There's still great things to be happy about and celebrate. So I get why there's some emotion there, but it is what it is.
Yep. Forever a legend.
Yep. For like that Game 4 was just like
we don't win that game if he didn't come and do what he did.
We don't.
Right? That was a 3-2 final. There's just you do not win that game.
3-2 final.
Another run.
He came in the first inning with
bases were loaded.
One
weren't
out.
They?
The bases loaded. Nobody had scored yet. He gets a ground ball to third base. Run scored. He gets the next guy out. Boom. We're back in the dugout. Like only one run scored.
Could have been.
It was. It could have been like that. That first inning could have been game.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know what happened later with Dansby and Soler, and like those moments never happen without Kyle Wright. So you gotta tip your cap there. Like just say thanks, man. Like good luck.
Yeah.
You know. So sorry, it is what it is. But
all the best.
Yeah. So and then like you said, the Ronaldo Lopez signing. Interesting again. Like keyword of the offseason, interesting. Like the fact that the Braves picked him up with the plan of like, hey, like maybe we can turn you into a starter again. And
which I don't like. I'm like, if you get a guy who can throw high 90s, like just ride with that. That's something we need. I'm like, and I don't know if it's still the plan, you know, like, but I'm like, were they just saying that as like to get leverage so all other teams might think that we already have a guy? I don't know, but I'm like, I really hope the plan is not to turn him into a star. Yes, he's started before, but personally, I'm like, just let him do what he does.
Yeah, and I mean that's how I felt originally about it too, and I was actually pretty frustrated with it at first. I was like, this is just. Like, honestly, I was a little bit embarrassed. I was like, man, like, we're going to have to, like, he's going to be our starter that we get this offseason. We're going to have to listen to all these fucking other fans, like, make fun of us and shit. And it's like, whatever, dude. And, like, and it wasn't anything against Lopez. It was, like, the more I looked at it, the more it kind of made sense. Like, maybe that guy could do it. But I don't want to burn that extra velocity either. Like, if we can, if he can't throw it regularly for 5-6 innings, like just keep him doing it for 2 innings because that's what's worked and he's been elite doing it. So like, let's just keep that. But then, you know, the Chris Sale move happened, and I was a little bit more like, okay, like
right.
He was never like
maybe Lopez starter. Was the backup plan of like, all right, if we really don't have anything else, yeah.
Right, and that's exactly what. And the more I started looking at it, that's what I thought, and I think that he eventually comes like maybe he starts some games, but like I think he's going to be that swingman type, like that can throw a couple innings and like we not take a step down in the quality of pitching we're throwing out there or whatever. Like he can still keep us in a game. So like maybe that's the plan, but I also think that we're going to see him back into the bullpen too. So I think he'll just kind of be like I don't want to call him a floater, but that's kind of the way I feel.
But it's like also Snit, and I feel like Snit's gonna like decide he's this guy, whatever it is. He's my setup man in the 8th. Like he's also like that too, where Snit's not really the type of like, oh, we're gonna do an opener today. He'll go the the 1 inning, and then I don't know. I just feel like I know Snit, so it's less likely to me that he'll go back and forth as much as you're saying. It's possible.
But and if that's the case, awesome. Thank you, Snit.
Yeah, I feel like
that's what I would prefer.
Right. Yeah. I think it'd be awesome as an opener.
Like to see.
Like, give you the first inning every once in a while, but that's not really how Snit plays it.
But we know he can be elite in the back end. And like we're paying him $30 million.
Right.
Like,
and that's why a lot of people were like, oh, we're not going to pay him $10 million a year to pitch in the 7th inning and stuff. I'm like, honestly, though, what pitchers are making now, it's not even that much money. Like I'm like $10 million for
that's nothing.
A reliever. Yeah. So I know he's not.
Aroldis Chapman got $10.5 million yesterday. Like
that's all he got
for Aroldis Chapman. Yeah.
I would have thought he would get more than that, but I guess he's not the closer.
But he sucks now. He's not who
you're
he
right.
used to
You're
be.
right.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean, you look at guys like Kenley. Like Kenley's still making $16 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's a lot of money.
Right.
So $10 million for, especially if you think that you can maybe start him, it's really not that much money.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. It's interesting, that's for sure. Again, that word interesting. Like everything is just weird this offseason. And not in a bad way, but like a
So yeah, I didn't see that just kind of like, let's see how this works out. Interesting. It's like I know he has a plan. He's not the type to just do things without knowing, but there was certainly some things where like, what is happening?
Oh, he had all this shit planned all off season. Yeah. He was just like, watch this.
This is just bored. Awesome. He was like, what can I do? Who can I flip for somebody else?
Let me go trade for Matt Carpenter and freak everybody out.
He's our DH. Yeah. There were really people being like, he's our DH. It's like
people told me that. I had people in my DMs who were like,
he's gonna platoon with Ozuna.
He's gonna be our DH. And I was like, dude, no, you're fucking crazy, man. Like we're not like, look, dude, I get it. Like some people just don't want Ozuna on the team. I'm not in that like boat. Like if he can give us another 40 homer year, like cool. I know there's people who are like, fuck that guy, get him off the fucking team.
Right. And I'm like,
whatever.
I don't claim he's like free of any like wrongdoing or anything. It's just more of like especially because he was on the team, not to like get into an Ozuna thing, but like he was already on the team when all this happened too. It's not like we then brought him on after this. It was like we were paying him
$50 million.
Like, and then he started contributing. So it was like, okay, if he's doing what we're paying him to do, let him keep doing it.
Yeah, cool.
Not like, oh my
just
gosh,
shut up for a little while. Let it be.
Right.
Yeah. So
take attention away from himself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that, whatever. That is what it is. But
he's not platooning with Matt Carpenter.
Yeah. He's not being replaced by Matt Carpenter, no. So I think maybe this isn't the most interesting move of the offseason, but it was certainly like up there with the Jared Kelenic move was pretty. I don't know. It makes sense for what the Braves already have. Like everything else is already locked up with stars. So it's like, why not take a gamble on a dude who is still only 24, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, he's not old. And he still has that superstar potential in him.
Mm-hmm.
The star has faded a little bit, but why not take that chance and see, like, if you can unlock that. And then you've got Acuna, Harris, and Kelenic for the next 5 years locked up in your outfield.
Love that outfield.
It could
I'm so friggin' stoked for Kelenic. I really just have a feeling. Like, I know you were talking about it. Like, he was on the pod Foul Territory. But he's just talking about how physically he feels, better mentally. He's been seeing a therapist and getting through some of the mental stuff. Like, that's all so huge. I really do feel like he's going to kind of come in a different guy, a different, like hungry, like on a team now where he knows he's wanted. He doesn't have the pressure of hitting like in the cleanup spot. He might be hitting ninth. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to carry as much as maybe you did as like that top prospect who, you debuted with Seattle, like that kind of stuff. Like, maybe what kind of.
And like, he was the big, he was the top prospect. He was the big piece they got back when they moved on from Edwin Diaz. Like, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, part of that trade was also moving Robinson Cano to the Mets also, but like, really it was about Edwin Diaz, and Edwin Diaz was a star in Seattle, and they didn't want to see that guy go. Like, those fans were not stoked about that. So that's the guy they got back was Jared Kelenic. He was like just a couple months removed from being like I think, hold on, let me make sure. I'm pretty sure that Kelenic. Okay, yeah. He was the 6th overall pick in 2018. And just a couple months later, he gets traded. Yeah. Like, there was huge expectations on this guy. And it just didn't pan out there. And from everything he said, it seems like there was just, in his words, not great communication. And, like, there was one point where he even said that, like, he was asked about Jerry DiPoto, and he said, like, yeah, I talked to him when I got traded, and then I saw him a couple years later down on the field. And it's like, you hadn't seen your GM in a couple years? Like, could you imagine Alex Anthopolous not seeing one of his players in a couple years?
Yeah.
That would never happen.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like he had some bones to pick with the Mariners organization.
Yeah, he definitely seemed like he was not stoked about everything.
The sort of leadership in that on that team.
Yeah, and another thing about that was, like, we didn't give up really anything of like big value. Like, the most important thing we gave up in that trade was Cole Phillips, and Cole Phillips still hasn't thrown a professional pitch. This was his 2nd year in the organization. He hasn't thrown a professional pitch yet. So, like, as another guy that it was like, there was
so far from ever potentially making an
impact. Yeah, like, he was not anywhere close to making a true prospect impact there. Right, yeah. And and then Jackson Coar, who we got in the Kyle Wright trade, he went over there.
That's just funny to me that he was like, and then Seattle was like, yeah, give it to us.
Yeah, we did that a couple times this offseason too. Yeah. So, and then, Marco Gonzalez, Evan White, we ended up moving both those guys. It was all about Jared Kelenic. Like, potential is still there. And even if, like, God forbid, he's just Eddie Rosario for the next 5 years. Well, you know what? Like, Eddie Rosario wasn't a terrible baseball player. And, like, Jared Kelenic is automatically a defensive upgrade.
Yes, Eddie Rosario. Absolutely. Even on the defense, for sure. I don't want to say like, oh my God, he's going to be a superstar, but I have pretty decent expectations that he's going to be able to be pretty good.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that, we could see him be 120 with plus guy for like the next 4 or 5 years. That would be awesome. I could also, like I said, be Eddie Rosario. If that's what we get, off control, base runner, already a better defender. It's an upgrade immediately that has the potential to be a huge upgrade.
Yep.
So I'm excited about Jared Kelenic. And I just love, he's a guy who plays with fire. Yeah, okay, he broke his foot kicking a cooler. I know some people, whatever, people are always going to have their issues with guys like that and call them whatever they will call them. And he admitted that. He said, made a mistake, learned from it, learned a lot from it.
Just working through it, yeah.
Right, yeah. But there's also a part of me that sees that and I'm like, okay, he cares.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me, because there were times I said I wouldn't talk about it, but there were times in the postseason this year where it just looked like nobody cared.
Yeah.
And I know that wasn't the truth, but like sometimes you need that guy to be like
someone with
lighting the fire.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think we added a few guys like that this offseason. So I won't, I could talk about Jared Kelenic all day long because I'm really excited about him, but I'm not going to. So
no, I'm with you. I'm really excited.
But yeah,
and especially because like he started out last season really, really good, and then he kicked the cooler and broke his foot, but it's in him. You know what I mean? Like it's there. So and he said that's what he feels like he's at, is like where he was there then.
Right.
So.
And on that Foul Territory podcast episode you were talking about, they asked him, like, do you think you're closer to the guy we saw in April and May or the guy we saw at the end of the season? And he said, I feel like I'm the guy we saw in April and May. And things just didn't go my way in the second half after he broke his foot. He was like, basically said he was still dealing with some lingering things from that injury. Like all of his power was just zapped. So it was like, there was reasoning for why that second half wasn't good. So we'll see. I mean, Kevin Seitzer and Chipper Jones have worked miracles before. So, and I don't think it's going to take a miracle to make this kid, an average major leaguer.
Yep. It's in there.
I'm
with you.
Next couple moves were kind of just weird, I guess. David Fletcher. And dumped Evan White. Yeah, and then Max Stassi, he's gone too. And just guy after guy, just like, hey man, welcome to Atlanta. Hey, you're a Pirate. Hey, you're a White Sox.
It's just like what I remember that was the one where like that he traded him for like cash considerations or like a player to be named later or something. It was like,
he was like, okay, just go.
I think you're just bored and want something new. You're like, what can I get? Like the joke about like trading a paperclip for like
did have a little bit of like, why are we doing this? Even though I do still see David Fletcher's potential important piece, like should somebody in the middle infield get injured.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's a weird one, that's for sure. But anyways, and then the Carpenter trade that we talked about, which was definitely about Ray Kerr.
Yeah.
It was that like lefty throws 99, doesn't walk a ton of guys, strikes out a bunch of guys. It's like Alex's MO all off season. It was just like velocity and left-handers, bring them over. Yep. We want them. And he saw an opportunity. And I saw it, I think it was on MLB Network. They were talking about it and they made a good point. Like what Alex kind of did was he saw the opportunity that like, hey, a lot of these teams are losing their TV rights next year. And I'm going to use that to my advantage. And I'm going to buy up some of their bad contracts. And I'm going to get them to send me a player I want.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, he did that like 4 times. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of exactly what he did. Like Seattle, like, who knows what the fuck's going on there? The Padres, like, who knows what the fuck's going on there? And it was just like team after team. It was like, okay, Seattle, Padres, White Sox, Angels. It was just like all these like limbo teams.
Who could you offload on?
Yeah.
We'll take them off your hands.
Who do you want to get rid of? Who do you not want to pay? You don't want to pay this guy? Great. Send him to us, but we want that guy.
Yeah. Include whoever you want, but we want this guy.
Yeah, but we want that guy. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what he did. And let me see. Okay, so we're to the big move of the offseason, and that's Chris Sale.
Mm-hmm. The shocker.
And yeah.
Like everyone saw that come through as eagle. As soon as you see like breaking and you see like the Atlanta, you're like, hold on a second, what is this?
Yeah, and it was the passing bomb too. It wasn't the Braves, it was a passing bomb.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know, the last big passing bomb I think I remember was Matt Olson.
For the Braves, you mean?
Being traded to the Braves. Yeah. So it was like,
it wasn't Murphy? Did he break Murphy?
So kind of.
Didn't Talking Jake break that one?
Talking Jake kind of broke some of it. He broke the Jake Sorielli. He broke that it was a 3-team trade.
Yeah.
He broke that it was the Braves, the Brewers, and the A's.
Mm-hmm.
And he broke that William Contreras was involved.
Okay. That sounds right.
And then like passing just barely like put it out there like boom, Sean Murphy to the Braves. And that was the announcement that Sean Murphy was going to the Braves, Sean Murphy to the Braves. And so that kind of, but it was that was a weird ass fucking trade, man. Like so much shit was going on.
We were like, who's involved? Who's involved?
Yeah, I was like, I remember hearing like Jake Sorielli being like, he said, I remember him saying like, little birdies are tweeting, and I'm like, oh man, like don't be like that. And he's like, it's a 3-team trade, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, 3-team trade would really make sense for the Atlanta Braves. And then like an hour later, he's like, I know the teams. It's the Braves, the Brewers, and the A's. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And like, yeah, and then it just like snowballed. But this was like, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. I mean, it was weird at first. And then when you pulled up that Savant page and you saw what it looked like for him in 2023 in over 100 innings, and it was all red. And I was like, oh, like Chris Sale still has it. And like expected stats say that he did. Like he was still really good. The velocity is one thing that is going to be interesting to watch. I mean, there were times like I think we've also actually, I think you were the person who posted it that I saw it was Sale's at bat against or his sequence against Harper early in the year. And it was like he was hitting 99. But then late in the year, like he's topping out at 93, 94. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Right. But I don't know. Like, and then we get like the extension.
If he has like a fully healthy offseason, kind of is ready to go, the regular spring training, all that stuff. Who's to say? But I feel like he's maybe change of scenery could not that like the health. Obviously, there was health stuff, but I'm like, you just never know if the change of scenery could help. Apparently, grew up a Braves fan, was a Braves fan, is a Braves fan, so I'm sure that helps. Of like going to the team you probably always wanted to play for.
Yeah,
And
I think they said he lived like an hour and a half from the spring training facility. So like he's been down there twice
Lakeland?
a week.
Is he the one, or did I make
working out?
Somebody was from Lakeland. Yeah.
Chipper Jones is from Lakeland, Florida, right?
Okay, then maybe that's unless Chris Sale is also from Lakeland.
I mean, he could be. I don't know.
No, I have to look it up because he was born in Lakeland, Florida. Yeah,
that's crazy. So of course he grew up.
So he's probably a huge Chipper fan. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So I mean, everything's there for Chris Sale to be a huge part of this rotation, but I also think it's important that people realize, like, realistically, there's likely to be an injury. It may not be, anything significant, but like, hell, honestly, we've kind of dealt with it with Max Fried for the last couple of years, just like a hamstring here and there, and he's out for a couple weeks. Yeah, and that's fine. If that happens, that's fine. The Braves have the depth.
Yeah, even if he, like he pitched 100 innings last year, even if he gives us 100 innings, that's awesome. That's still pretty good. But I think that there is hope that it's going to be better than that.
I'm hoping for 130
extension and all that. Yeah,
a little bit more than that, maybe 140.
He feels better, and
but the most important thing is to have he and Morton ready for the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, Fried and Strider are the most important for the postseason. But you can cushion a loss like one of those guys. Or like if Fried has blisters again, you can cushion that a little bit if you have a Morton and a Sale lined up that could both end up going for you. We didn't have that this year. We just went to Elder. And like, I'm a big Elder fan. I am. But I didn't like him in that moment. Like, that was...
Right, not in a game 3.
Yeah, I kind of pretended I liked it, but I didn't like it. And it's just
we didn't really have much of a choice. Like, I get it. It's like I would just really would love to go into a postseason with like 4 healthy. We don't need the full rotation. Obviously, it's the postseason, but like if we could have like 4 guys that are healthy, like last 2 postseasons has just been like injuries and like it feels like you're making excuses, but it's not. Like you do wonder, like if everyone was healthy, if Strider was actually healthy, what happens in last 2 years ago, and like Fried this year, Morton this year, like.
Yeah, and in 2021, like what was the secret to us winning the World Series? It was pitching. Like, sure, the bullpen was dominant, but like we had a solid 3 who were healthy and could give us 5 innings and then get out of there and let the bullpen take it over. We had Fried, Morton, and Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson,
playoff beast.
No matter what you think about him as a pitcher, whatever, he's a fucking stud in the playoffs for some reason.
Goes out there and leaves it all in the field.
Like,
I kind of do miss him. Yeah.
same thing for Morton and Fried. Like that first series against against Milwaukee. Like, first game.
Yeah.
Charlie Morton shoved.
Yeah. But that's a game. That's like one of those games that you're like, damn, we should have won that game. It didn't matter ultimately. That's a game to look back like.
And that's fine. The next day, Fried went out and fucking shoved. And then Ian Anderson comes out and like
only went like 4 1/3 because that's kind of how it went with him. And like
that's how it went.
But yeah, he was good. He was getting out of jams.
But then we got the big homer from
dude, don't let us get started on 2021 because we'll keep going.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I know.
I'm just pointing out that like this is something we've been missing that we did have in 2021.
Yeah,
was a healthy. And you're right. If we get on 2021 too much, we'll be gone for an hour.
I even got this.
So yeah, hell yeah, dude, that's a sweet shirt, dude.
This is the good vibes. I was like, I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's like the old school World Series champion shirt.
I have a hoodie, a blue hoodie that has the same.
That's awesome. I want one of those.
It's from Dex. I'm sure they don't sell it anymore, but
no, they don't now. Yeah,
this was from Dex, the shirt.
Weird. But yeah,
but anyway.
so
that would just make a huge difference to have like more than like 2.5 guys that you can rely on in the postseason.
Right. And then when we look at the depth that Alex Anthopolous has built in the bullpen, it's like
we only need 5. Give us 5 innings.
4. Yeah. If you can give us 4 innings,
give
dude,
us 3 1/3.
That's
we're good.
Huge. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we would love to have 5. Right. We'd love to have 5. But
yeah, no, you're right.
In postseason baseball, you just don't get that out of guys very often anymore.
Yeah.
And that, like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a Jordan Montgomery who just goes out there and just fucking.
I'm still holding out hope until he signs.
That dude, I watched him all.
I won't give up.
And I was like, "This is unreal. This guy is just like he doesn't look like he should be getting outs at all, and he's just shoving. It's just making everybody look silly, and it's just man, and that would have been a sweet signing, but it didn't happen. So, So yeah, Chris Sale, and then like you said, the 2-year extension, like that gives us some stability in the rotation for the next year. Like there's 2 big horses probably both going to be gone in Fried and Morton.
Yeah.
And maybe Sale is more of a 3 at this point. So we can answer a 2. Like Strider is a 1. Like he is a 1-1. We can answer a 2. Maybe one of Waldrop or AJ Smith-Shawver like develops enough to be able to take over that 3 slot and then slide sailed down to 4. Like, so we'll see where that goes. Like, this is going to be a very important year for determining what the 2025 rotation
those guys, I wouldn't. Smith-Shawver for sure. I mean, he already has, been up, so I'm sure he's going to get starts. But I think Waldrop too, at some point, is going to make an appearance.
Yeah, I think so too. And he gets lost a little bit. Spencer Schwellenbach he's a fucking stud. This guy, it's a hell of a name, Schwellenbach. He throws strikes, like nasty fucking filthy off-speed stuff. Dude's going to be really good. In my opinion, like, I'm higher on him than I am on Waldrop and
interesting
Smith-Shawver. Yeah, but it's only because he throws strikes. Like, I got to see those other guys develop that ability. Like, you can't do it at the major league level until you can do it and throw strikes. So that's why I like Schwellenbach so much. So watch what he does this year. That'd be fun. Guillorme. Luis Guillorme.
Oh, yeah.
Luis Guillorme. Yeah, that's
solid. Guillorme. I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
yeah,
he's a good defender. Bat's not really there, but he can play some defense. So if you need him,
he's a little slap hitter.
Yeah,
like, he can give us a single here and there, whatever. Like, that's fine. Like, and the big thing that Alex always focuses on with his backup guys is clubhouse presence. I've heard nothing but awesome things about that guy, and that he's just a fucking cool ass dude. So that's interesting too. Like, you can see that he's still focusing on the clubhouse while at the same time trying to at least put a backup option there. Because, I mean, Fletcher, like I said, he's probably going to start the season in AAA, but we've got him there if anything happens. And, like, God forbid it does. But
yeah,
at least the guys that we have are good defenders. Like, bats,
right, which is more important with the other guys that we have in that lineup. That if some guys,
exactly. Like, we can cover up losing Ozzy's bat for a month, or even Orlando's bat. Like, it's not. I mean, he's obviously not a huge part of that offense, but Guillorme is not going to hit anywhere near as much as Arcia does.
Yeah.
So but the defense is there, and like, that's, to me, that's the most important part. So, what's on this next page? Oh, okay. So really, thus far, and obviously the off season's not over yet. It's, it's January 23rd for those wondering what day we're recording this.
Still guys who haven't signed.
So we've got like 3 weeks till spring training, right? It's 15th, right?
Yeah, about 3 weeks.
3.5 weeks, something
maybe
like that.
3 weeks to Thursday. Yeah, until pitchers and catchers report.
So, I would love to see the Braves re-sign Kevin Pillar. I would be.
Yeah, I do still think there's a move in the pipeline of like a right-handed outfielder. I think
it feels like there has to be. I know we signed
trench moves.
Yeah, we signed Jordan Luplow again.
Yeah,
and it's just like,
yeah, I'd love
second year in a row. It's like
Pillar hasn't signed anywhere yet. So I'm like, I don't know if he's looking for a starting job, but I'd love to have him back.
But I think that it's
guy,
Randall Grichuk.
Yes, that's another one I've seen running around who would be solid option. Yeah,
that dude destroys left-handed pitching. He just, and he can play center field too. Like, he's kind of just like Pillar, maybe a little bit better at this point in his career because he's a little bit younger, and like Pillar's. I don't know. But, but Pillar, man, he's just that dude that, like...
Yeah, I'd love to have him back.
He gets out in the field, dude, and, like, he plays like he's 23 again.
Puts his life on the line on every
fucking play, dude. Like, remember last year, like, he tried to rob, like, 2 homers in the same inning in left field, and, like, both times just crushed his ribs. Yeah, and it was like, man, what a fucking dude. Yeah, I love Kevin Pillar.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just like... he's just that nice guy. And then like seeing him like cry after he got that big hit in Pittsburgh. And like he's like,
dude, he had some clutch that I forgot. Like, I was gonna say the one where he hit that go-ahead homer against Baltimore.
Dude, that was
so clutch. And then I forgot about the one in Pittsburgh. That game was awesome. Yeah, so he's had some clutch ass moments.
That was our first ever win in the City Connects. That 2-run homer.
Yes, I remember that because that was like May or something, right? Yeah,
we could not win in those fucking things, and it was the 8th inning. We were down a run again. We're wearing those fucking jerseys. I was like, God, fuck this, man. And then he hit that homer, and I was like, oh, yeah, that was fucking sweet.
I feel like I even had a tweet in that I ended up just putting in the drafts. That was something like, congrats to any team we play at home on a Saturday because you're gonna win.
Yeah, I mean that's what it felt like, dude. Like I personally I kind of like the City Connects. I think they're cool. Like I love that they took that opportunity to honor Hank Aaron. That's what I love about him. Do I think it could have been done a little bit better? Yeah, probably. But I don't.
But like most of the City Connects are kind of like,
they're all a little funky. Like Texas's City Connects, it's fucking weird. Like they got that like old English TX on
like TX. Yeah. Most of them I don't look at them and I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Because when I think of Texas, I think of old English. That's what I think of. You know, like just
good choice.
Yeah, it's a little weird. So. But anyways, yeah, so that's a big moment for Kevin Pillar. Like, I'll always remember that. The first City Connect win was only because of Kevin Pillar, and nobody else on that team contributed at all. So, yeah. And then I just kind of wrote down some fun little, like, lower signings. So, Luis Liberato, like, this happened early on in the offseason too. Like super like under the radar dude, can play all 3 outfield positions. He hit 20 homers at AAA in 2022. And then in 2023, he had an 823 OPS in AAA.
I missed that one because I don't even know that name.
Right. And I mean, like, that's not like those aren't bad numbers at AAA.
Right.
So it to me, it was interesting because it was like, okay, maybe that's our outfielder because he has debuted at the major league level. He debuted in 2022 with the Padres. So, like, maybe bring him to spring training, see what he does. Like, if he has a big spring training, like, we could use a 4th outfielder who can play center field. Like, and he's a right-handed batter. I believe, let me go back and make sure. I'm 99.9% sure he's a right-handed batter.
Luis Liberato. No, he's lefty.
Is he?
Bats lefty, throws lefty, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's an interesting twist. Okay. So I had that wrong. Yeah, bats left, throws left. You're right. Interesting.
I'm just looking at his. So in 2022, he had 7 games at the major league level, and he had a negative 100 weighted runs created.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. That's pretty
literally 0-0. This slash line's all zeros, and then a .006 expected. Weighted. That's actually really funny.
Pretty rough. Yeah. So, but it's only 7 plate appearances, so like whatever. And then another guy was Ben Bowden, who. Okay, yeah, I was that guy. I think this is the guy that played for the Phillies not too long ago. Let me make sure. I should have made sure.
That name's definitely familiar, so I definitely remember. Yes, he was in AAA with the Phillies last year.
Right, and 52.1 innings pitched. Like the ERA is not great, 4.64. FIP is still 4.49, so like he's right there where he is.
Decent strikeout.
But he struck out 13. Yeah, 13.07 per 9. Like that's attractive, and he is a lefty. So go figure. Like just fits right into what the Braves have been doing all offseason. So
to have a guy like that and just stash him in AAA, I mean that's like you said, the MO. He's just kind of stockpiling those types of guys, and then I'm sure we'll see Those guys come up at some point.
Another guy that we brought back, Grant Holmes. He was a reliever for Gwinnett last year. Had a 3.54 ERA and a 3.54 FIP. How often do you see that? Like never. I was just like, that's pretty dope. But 61 innings pitched. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a 3.54 ERA and 61 innings pitched. That's
so funny. 3.54.
Yeah. It's like
exactly.
I never see that ever. So that was like when that stuck out to me. I was like, well, hell, I mean, you can't be any more consistent.
What you see is what you get with him.
Yeah, like that's it. So, and then we signed Larry Garcia. Larry Garcia. Sorry. Larry Garcia. I can't.
I think it's like Larry.
That's that. Yeah, that's what I thought. Larry. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Garcia was a utility guy for the White Sox for a long time. He didn't play last year, but whatever. Like, I could easily see him being our fourth outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hold on. Is he righty?
I think so. I could be making that up. 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
Larry.
Well, I think I got it. Yeah, he's righty. No, he's switch hitter. So that's even more plays a bunch of different spots on the field. I'll tell you everywhere he plays.
That's also true. It's like obviously it was like pretty pitiful in 2022. Was he hurt?
So yeah, I think he was hurt and he just wasn't good when he was on the field. And then nobody signed him. And I don't know if he maybe played somewhere else. I don't know. But dude this is as recently as 2022. He played second base, third base, shortstop.
I was going to say I remembered him as a third baseman, so I think that is the guy I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Like I know who he is, but I think I was mixing him up with somebody. But no, he did play third, so it's the guy that I thought was playing third. Yeah.
Yeah, second base, third base, shortstop, left field, center field, right field.
Wow.
All those in 2022. So the dude can play anywhere. And he's a switch hitter, obviously, as we just found out. And I don't know. I could very easily see him making the roster, being a switch hitter.
Yeah,
and
see how he does at spring, for sure.
Yeah, see what he does at spring. And good defender. Like, you don't find a lot of guys who can play that many places. That's pretty rare. So, and then Braves brought back Jackson Stevens. So I like that. Stevens came up in September and he was actually pretty good. I thought he even might make the postseason roster, but he ended up not. And then Taylor Widener. I don't know. It feels like a lot of people missed that. Like Widener was a starter for the Diamondbacks a couple years ago.
I do remember that happening. I mean, like us signing him. I feel like I remember that.
Yeah, it was like
I know who he is for sure. Yeah.
I can't remember when it was. I think it was in November.
I was using the KBO last year, huh?
Yeah, he was in the KBO last year, and he wasn't terrible.
He wears glasses, doesn't he? Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's him. But yeah, 367 FIP in 115 innings. Started 20 games. So, like, he's a starter. So that just adds to our starting pitching depth. He's probably going to be one of the last guys we go to. But we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see how much of that success. Like in 2021, he wasn't really bad. I mean, he started 13 games through 70.1 innings. Had a 4.35 ERA, but he's 5.54 expected ERA. So, like, yeah, so we'll have to see how much of the success last year at the KBO translates over. I mean, there's a couple of guys we're waiting to see that on. So, I don't know. It's an interesting little depth signing that, like, no one really talked about. And we'll see. And then the last ones I saw were Nick Ward Now, Nick Ward, I believe that is the dude that played for the Phillies. I should have these guys already brought up. I'm so sorry. I feel like an idiot. Nick Ward. Yep, played for the Phillies last year. Hit 10 homers and 400.
Lower A too, huh? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. A plus and double A. But he
before that.
Yeah, 10 homers and 484 plate appearances. So I thought that was interesting. Like, dude plays second base and third base. Like, it just seems like, again, like whatever Alex is trying to find, a little bit of just infield depth, just in case. Just, you never know what the fuck happens. And then the last two dudes that I wrote down are probably the dudes that I think will ultimately have the biggest impact on the Major League club, but may not be in this 2024 season. And that's Penn Murphy and Angel Perdomo.
Yeah.
So Penn Murphy has 2.70 ERA, 3.29 FIP, 83.1 innings pitched to the MLB level. But he's injured, and he's going to be out for a while. He doesn't throw hard, so like there's not like a super like concern about him not having his velo back. So I thought that's a fun sign. Like he got passed around a little bit. Like Mets picked him up, then they DFA'd him. We picked him up, then we DFA'd him.
Yeah, okay.
And then we gave him a major league contract. And same kind of thing happened with Angel Perdomo. We picked him up off waivers, then we DFA'd him, and then we gave him a major league contract. So, like, if we keep these guys around, they're ARB eligible for the next few years or whatever, and it could be part of the picture going forward. So they're pretty interesting. Yeah, Perdomo has 5 years of control. So that's
okay.
Yeah, so that's nice. We'll see what that turns into. I saw somebody comparing him to Josh Hader, but he doesn't throw anywhere near as hard as Josh Hader. So I didn't understand that comparison really. I want to say, like, thank you to everyone who has helped me and my family. Like, it's been probably the most stressful couple weeks of my life. Like, even when she was born, it wasn't this bad because it was like from day one, like we saw positive moves. And like this was like, on the 6th of January, ironically, we we took our daughter to the doctor because she just had a cough. That's all it was. She had a cough, and get her to the doctor, and they're like, hey, her oxygen levels are in the 60s. Like, we got to get her to the hospital right now. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. So they test her for RSV. She was positive for RSV. I go to the hospital in an ambulance, just holding her in my arms. We get there and they're like, hey, you're going to Roanoke. And we're like, okay, so we're going to Roanoke. That's fine. 5 minutes later, they're like, you're going to UVA. And we're like, oh fuck. Okay. So my family and I have been down here, or my wife and I really, been separated from our daughter. And then our other daughter's in the hospital. And like a couple days later, she goes on an event. A week later, she's on ECMO. And like I said, it's the most stressful days of my life. Like, there were literally days that we left the hospital wondering if she was going to make it through the night. So like, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has helped, like, in any way. Like, we've had so many nice fucking people do so many cool fucking things. I'm not going to say like specific names because I don't want to do that, but like one person like reached out and wanted to send us a bunch of Braves baby clothes for Poppy when she gets out of the hospital. And like, that was fucking really cool. And, we've had people sending us like DoorDash vouchers and like people offering, what do they call, like meal trains and shit like that. And like, and then, so much help on the GoFundMe, and then on the, like, people sending it to us through a Venmo, or, Cash App, whatever. Like, so many people have fucking helped. And I just want to say genuinely, like, fucking thank you to anybody who watches this. Like, you're giving me a chance to be here with my family, and that's fucking awesome. So
yeah, I feel like this is the stuff that brings out, like, fuck the rivalries. Like, this is kind of what brings out the humanity in people.
Oh yeah, and that's like, a fucking great you have, point.
How much love,
like,
where it's like
we're all people. Yeah, and that's a great point that you make about the rivalries. Like, so many like Mets and Phillies fans and Marlins fans and Nationals fans like have reached out to me just to DM me and say,
see how she is.
Hey, like, I know we clash about baseball, but this is fucking real life, and I know what you're going through is fucking hard. And like, just those little DMs, like, they fucking mean the world, dude. Like, I can't express the amount of gratitude I feel for the fucking people. Like, it's fucking Twitter. I know that. But Twitter has changed my fucking life. Like in a way that I know it's not really ever going to change a lot of other people's lives, but like, the connections I've made on Twitter have allowed me to not only be there when my daughter was born and not have to worry about shit and be in the hospital with her every fucking day, but to do it again, like less than a year later. That's fucking crazy. So, we're going to get off of here, but whoever sees this, if you donated, if you've helped in any way, like, thank you so fucking much. And just thank you for even just thinking about us. Like, that's cool as fuck. So
you guys are awesome.
Yeah. So thank you guys. All right. I guess we're going to head out, but hopefully soon.
Maybe there'll be another move.
Yeah. No, and I mean, like I said, I have nothing but time at this point. So it's easier for me to do it at night. Yes. But it's, so we should definitely be back very soon. So look forward to more Beaneater Buzz, please. Or excuse me. Look forward to more Beaneater Buzz soon, and please, like, watch it. Like, we appreciate
subscribe,
it. It's fucking awesome.
Follow, share it.
Yeah, subscribe, follow, whatever. Hit us up on fucking Twitter, whatever. So
all right,
you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching.
Peace out, everyone. Go Braves.